one of the questions that's been asked, and we'll have to raise it again, is why the president's personal physician is not here. Are you familiar with a reason that the president decided not to send his physician here to answer our questions the way that his predecessors have decided to send their physicians here?
KJP, I don't know if you want to start it. I'm happy to give my thoughts, or you want me to just give mine?
Why don't you start and I'll come in.
Yeah, so look, you've heard every day and from the president's physician through his detailed accounting of his assessment, his plan. I have been speaking to both his personal physician, I speak to him every single day at length, with the president on an ongoing basis. And the bottom line is the president has had, thankfully, because he is double vaccinated, double boosted, he's had a relatively mild upper respiratory infection. And in that context, we have provided, I think, an extraordinary amount of transparency about his care, when he got tested positive, how he's done each day, the evolving nature of his symptoms. Is his runny nose a little worse, a little bit better? Like, we've been very, very open and transparent with all of that data. And what I'm able to do is obviously provide that broader context of how to think about the president's condition in the context of the broader COVID response that we have. But the president's physician, I think, has been very, his words have been very clear, and then you've heard from him through his letters every single day.
Forgive me, there's a history here in this room of the president's physician standing here to take questions,
Yeah.
and in part it's because some of your colleagues in the medical profession do have questions, and they've asked us to ask those questions about why the president's doctor ordered him to stop taking Questor and Eliquis. You have done your best to communicate the answer that the president's physician has given, but are you familiar with the reason why the president decided not to send his doctor out to answer those questions specifically?
Yeah, what I will say is, again, if you take a look, step back and ask the question, what's the medical condition that the president has? Yes, he has COVID, which is very dangerous for people who are not vaccinated, not boosted, not taking therapeutics. But that is not the president. The president's immunity is up to date. He's getting treated. In that context, he's had thankfully, and again, continue monitoring the president and hope that it all continues the way it has gone so far. But he's had, thankfully, a relatively mild respiratory illness. In that context, I think that you've been hearing from the president's physician, you're hearing from me. That is a lot of information, and certainly plenty of information to understand both the president's condition and the decisions that are being made. I don't know if you want to add anything further.
I mean, look, just a couple of things. As you, Steve, mentioned some of our medical colleagues, just want to say a couple of things about some notable healthcare professionals who have validated our treatment approach, who have been on networks here in this room, and also who have been in newspapers of some folks here. For example, Dr. Lena Wen from George Washington University in the Washington Post, she said, "The president's medical team has done all the right things following his diagnosis. The fact that he contracted the coronavirus doesn't mean that the vaccines don't work, rather succeeded because they are keeping him out of the hospital. The United States has had so much success with vaccines and treatments that even when the president gets the virus, it's business as usual." Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN chief medical correspondent, the statistics are very much on his side because of his vaccines and the Paxlovid medication. It's a different time. When President Trump got COVID, there was no vaccine at that point. So this is an example of how effective the vaccines are, just if you compare those two situations. And the reason why I read those two is because we have seen from his doctor that he's had very mild symptoms, that right now he's almost completely resolved, and he has been able to do the work of the American people. And so if you go back to on Thursday, when we learned he was positive, we put out a statement. I put out a statement. Then we had a letter from the doctor, and then we kept our commitment on making sure you heard from the doctor himself. Look, we are in a different place. This is not 21, 22 months ago. This is not even a year and a half ago. And so we've been here almost every day since, not every day since, every work day since, for about an hour, fielding your questions, taking your questions. Your colleagues were able, one of your colleagues right there, was able to ask the president a question, and he answered it directly. That event that he did lasted about an hour. So you've had eyes on him, you've asked questions, you've heard from us, and we're going to continue to give that information as well.
There's one last thing, and that's it for me. Did you foresee a circumstance, Karine, where the person who treats the commander-in-chief of the armed forces will never or will ever come to this podium?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we're in a different place with COVID, right? We are able to do the business, he's able to do the business of the American people, and not just him. Other Americans as well, because there are vaccines that are free, because there are boosters that are free, because there's Paxlovid, which is an antiviral medication that has helped him really take to the treatment well, really recover very well. You saw him again for your very own eyes. You saw him give a speech at Noble that we just played for all of you, which is why we were a little bit behind in starting this, and also during his CHIPS event. And so that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we are just in a different time with COVID.
To follow up on Dr. O'Connor not being here, is this a situation where Dr. O'Connor does not want to come and talk about the president's health, or where the president doesn't want Dr. O'Connor talking about his health?
I will tell you, I have spoken both to the president and to Dr. O'Connor on an ongoing basis, and neither of them has expressed a preference on either. Dr. O'Connor has not at any point said he doesn't want to come. The president has not at any point said he does not want Dr. O'Connor to come. So I would say neither of those is correct.
Are there any plans to discuss with the president's doctor coming out to brief the press, if not on COVID, on his general health conditions, or in other words, under what circumstances would he come out and talk to the press?
Well, you know, we put out back in November a comprehensive examination that was done by a panel of doctors, and we put that out. And there was no doctor that came out to the podium and give and take questions, right? We put that out, and we took questions in the briefing room. And so, look, again, we're in a different stage than we have been currently with COVID. We are not where we were a year and a half, and a lot of that is because of the comprehensive, COVID response that the president has had. The fact that he's able to be fully vaccinated and double boosted, and not just him. We're talking about Americans across the country, and we are encouraging. We see this moment as a teachable moment, as a moment to really let folks know, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, the time is now. If you haven't gotten that first or even second booster, the time is now to do that, so you can have that extra protection.
Quick follow-up to that. Have you or did Dr. Jha ask Dr. O'Connor to come to the briefing room and they declined, or because Dr. Jha indicated that there was no resistance to doing that?
So there is no resistance to doing that. The answer, and the question that was asked, the answer is no to that. We believe that, not even we believe, we know that the president has very mild symptoms. He is managing this. He's reacting to the treatment very well. This is coming from Dr. O'Connor. And you all have seen him today, twice. Taking questions from your colleagues. And so he's able to resume, I should say, work on behalf of the American people, as he has been. He's isolated. He's following CDC guidelines by being isolated. But again, this is what's important about the time that we're in. We're able to have the treatment, we're able to have the boosters, have the vaccine, so that people can continue to do the work. We should be thrilled. We should be thrilled that our president is doing well and is responding well to the treatment and has very mild symptoms, or is at a point where his symptoms are pretty much resolved.